Welcome once again. You have now entered the cosmic radio receptors of KCIW 100.7 FM in Brookings, Oregon. Thank you for tuning into this week's fabulous program. Once again, I'm Dr. GiGi, and my co-host is, as always, Jacques Kepner. How are you, Jacques?
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Doc and Jacques Radio Variety Show. I'm doing fine, Doc.
Good.
I want to mention that you're hearing this live show on KCIW in Brookings, Oregon. That said, the same show will be rebroadcast in exactly 1 week from now, each and every Wednesday on KZZH 96.7 FM, and they are located in Eureka, Humboldt, Arcata, which we're going to stop by tomorrow. Right. I think we're going to stop by and say hello to Matt and the other people that are hanging out there. You'll also hear this next Wednesday on my old alma mater, KFUG 101.1 FM in Crescent City, California, and that's at 1 o'clock. So now you know, Dr. GiGi and I have got your coasts covered.
Right on. And usually we're now at MD10, but we have started our new with
Chatting Chairs.
Chatting Chairs is our new segment where we're discussing stuff. So last time when Jackie and I were discussing what to discuss on the Chatting Chairs, he dismissed what I suggested and he said, hey, how about the periodic table? Nobody knows what it's about.
I certainly didn't know. That's why I would like to know more about it, Doc.
Right. So I said, well, that's too easy. What are we going to do with the next 10 minutes?
Well, I realize that there is indeed quite a large rift between what people think is easy peasy and self-explanatory. Well, everybody knows that this periodic table that is plastered in our science building classrooms, I believe virtually no one gets it. All right? That's what I didn't get it. I certainly didn't get it. It was alien to me. So we, the two of us, came up with the idea, but we decided to discuss the periodic table of elements today. And I really want to ask you, how many of you know exactly what we think we know what it is, but maybe we don't.
Right. So I'm giving a tiny miniature description. In brief, the periodic table of elements is a chart that organizes all known chemical elements, showing their properties and how they relate to each other.
Wait. All the elements on Earth, just Earth, right? There's other dimensions.
Those and all elements, period. All elements. And I'll explain later.
Okay.
Yes,
I heard it was named after, the periodic table was named after some guy.
Yeah, Mr. Periodical.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm the jokester on this show. Don't try to move into my territory. No, he was a Russian or a Ukrainian, or what was he? His Mendeleev.
Yeah, so the table was developed by Dmitry Mendeleev in 1869.
1969 was a good year. Oh, you said 1869. Okay.
And it was a product of lots of scientists' findings. He just compiled them, and he saw that those elements have same characteristics and they could be bundled. So he actually produced the same table with only 63 different known elements. And he knew where they're supposed to be on the periodic table, and so he left blank spaces where he postulated back then that those elements that fit in here would still be found in the future. And right he was. So now we have 118 known elements.
Hold on. Back in 1969, when Mr. Periodic came up with the 63 different known elements, we know now there's 118, but only? What about all the other stuff that's out there, let's say on the moon or in the universe?
Right. So I'm saying there are only 118 known and proven elements. Here or anywhere in our known world of matter. It has to be matter, right?
This is postulation by physicists saying.
Well, I don't know who. Well, I'll tell you why this came up.
Okay.
The elements are defined by the number of protons they contain, because the elements contain protons, usually also neutrons, in the so-called nucleus, and then electrons on the outside whizzing around. So there is an element with one proton, hydrogen.
Hydrogen is the number
one. That's the easiest one. It doesn't have a neutron. Now, then there is helium. There's helium with 2 protons. Then there's lithium with 3. Blah, blah, blah. You go up to 118.
Ooh, whoa. What's gold, you know? It's like 63. It's something totally different than gas, but okay.
So
positive,
gold
negative
is 79,
charge
actually. 79 protons. So Now, if you think there was an element with 109, with a number of 119, how many protons do you think it would have?
Yeah. Do you ask me number questions?
Yeah.
You know, my specialty is in English and math.
So
it'd be have 119. We'd have half that many.
okay, so it's 119. Good.
Darn it.
So 119 protons. Now, why are the neutrons there? The neutrons are there to shield the protons from knowing there's another proton there. So that's why they're in there. And so the more neutrons you push into that nucleus, the more unstable it gets. So they have not been able to get an element with 119 protons in however many neutrons it would take, probably 180 or so
I have
neutrons.
as many neutrons, 118 as I am. My weight is 118 pounds. Oh, well, that sounds a bit obscure and fishy, Docs, especially the neutron stealthy action, whatever that is, with this floating around, woozing around with these negatives and positive charge. But since you are telling me that every element is distinguished by the number of protons, then there are only 100. Why aren't there 119? Tell me.
As I
You
just barely said,
just
they
said that.
could not produce it
Darn it.
because it will get unstable. So they put neutrons in there to hide the other protons from each other. In that nucleus, if there's 119, which would probably require about 180 neutrons, the nucleus will not, it's just too big. It will fall apart. Now get this, the 118 proton nucleus was only made in 2002.
You
so
mean
they made that.
modern history. Like
Modern
20
history, 2002, 23 years ago.
23 years ago, this last one was added onto the period.
Yeah,
Had
and
all the
it's
old-
only, it's a noble gas. It doesn't react with anything else, and it only lasts 0.8 milliseconds.
Okay.
And then it decays. It's so unstable, it decays to something else.
A liver
moron.
moron, right? That's
The 118
60,
proton noble gas is called oganesson.
okay.
Yeah.
So in liver moron in Afghanistan, we have all these different elements that are out there. I still don't quite get the concept, but I'm coming around. So you're saying that gold
Yeah.
is the international standard.
Right. It has a symbol of Au for aurum. And the atomic number is 79, which means it has how many protons?
I don't know, 79.
79.
Okay, I got it.
Exactly.
I got it.
It
It's easy.
happens to have 118 neutrons for the nucleus to be stable and 79 electrons.
Okay, gold, heavy stuff. Anybody wants some, has gold out there? You're willing to give it up?
No.
Use it this way. Send it this way. Okay, I did some research on the periodic table
You
myself.
did.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
And I found that I meant more of the fat guy,
Yeah, the Pat guy.
The fact guy, 118 pounds, and that I found this weird one called astatine with a AT. It's called with an atomic number of 85, and if I understand it, has 85 protons, right? Mm-hmm. I found out that this is the rarest naturally occurring element in Earth's crust.
Right.
The rarest. So it's rarer than finding one of our engineers out in the middle of the desert. That in itself is pretty amazing. But then it states that it decays into some other element.
Right.
What in the world does that mean?
So decay means it's not stable, right? Like this oganesson is only 0.8 milliseconds stable, and then it falls apart because the nucleus is too heavy. So this astatine, which has 85 protons, and however 111 or something neutrons, it will not last very long, and then it falls. It decays to something different, to actually something that has only 83 protons. So it gives off an element with 2 protons, which is, as you know, helium. Good. We just talked about
helium,
it.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then,
Barney, I'm on helium.
so it is very unstable. It does you find it in the Earth crust, but it's very unstable. So when you find it, it's only there for a 30th of a second. I don't know what the
I
half-life
bought
is.
uranium at a Utah rock shop. I'll tell that another time. And I had it for years. And I'd light it up for people. I'd bring in the Geiger counter and I'd throw it to them. They didn't know what it was. It was just an ugly looking rock. But it would beep out. It was a big rock, and people would freak out once I brought the Geiger counter. I'm not going to talk about that.
Yeah, so uranium is one of those that gives up
Yeah.
You can decay in other ways too. It just means decaying just means you give up a lot of energy because the instability of the core has to give up its energy somehow or it's going to fall apart.
All right. Okay. I think I understand so far.
Sure you do. But so
not-
this is what I think the
All right.
confusion comes from, especially you saying there must be more elements on the moon and such.
Yeah.
So we're talking the elements are building blocks for more complicated material.
Okay.
So the combination of the building blocks gives us the huge variety of material. So there's a never-ending variety of material out there, but all is made up of those basic 118 building blocks of matter. So the meteorites from moon or other stars or whatever, not from the moon, but they contain the same elements just in a different composition.
Okay.
All
All
right,
righty then.
then.
Well,
Cool,
I
right?
guess this will be the last time that I bring up an idea of such
I
as
know
to
it, right?
discuss. You wanted to talk about movie stuff, right? Villains and protagonists. And I
Yeah.
thought, are you talking to me? I'm Mr. Non-moviegoer. I don't know. The last original movie I saw was King Kong. That was back in the day. So this will be the last time you decided in the next chatting chairs. We've done some real tough ones. Time, we did
Sleep,
consciousness last
consciousness.
week and sleep before that. And it was like, oh my goodness gracious. All right. That will be the last time. We will have some great ideas for you next week, and we will have a good time. Nobody else understands it except you, my brilliant German-born
No,
multilingual.
okay. Guess what?
What?
Somebody
guests
else?
do?
Yes, our guests.
Our guests do. They're really smart. Darn it. They're smarter than me. Oh, well, that's
Okay,
good. I'm happy
go
for
ahead.
them. But I'm glad that you understand it, my German-born, multilingual scientist, professor, and physician. Holy smokes. What exactly do you have your patents and doctor?
In DNA technology. Which,
Oh, well,
okay.
let's talk about that next week. DNA technology.
So DNA detection, PCR. So this is the funny thing. I think I've told that before. But anyway, my boss at the time told me to do something, and I was listening with only half an ear. So I thought I did what he told me to do, except for he didn't. And so when I presented my results, and he said, "What? What did you do?" Anyway,
You did the experimentation wrong because you just weren't listening.
Why wasn't I? See, yeah, that makes sense. I'll do it
Daydreaming.
that way.
And it made sense. but
And
then
he right away noticed, wow, this has really potential.
a total
because
mistake.
It was not supposed to work. It wasn't something that was ever on the horizon, and it worked. So it's like, yeah, what's the big deal? Of
Louis
course it works.
Pasteur, right? Noticed the bacterium growing
Yeah,
on
after
the
he-
Swiss cheese or whatever it was.
Something like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. I'm pleased to introduce two relatively new friends of Doc and Jacques, and that we have found, very sociable and super, super nice. Jennifer and Matthew Fenner are in the studio today, and they have a combined interest in grapes and the making of wine. Whoopee! Now we're talking.
Yeah.
The history of winemaking dates back to ancient civilizations where grape juice was turned into wine through a process known as fermentation.
All
That's
right.
right. Okay. And the ancient origins of winemaking are closely tied to the region around the Mediterranean. They were the first. The first. People think France, but nah, this was long
Mediterranean
before.
is
Yeah, the
France,
Mediterranean. Well, yeah, I'm not going to go into that. Greece and
Okay. Yeah,
okay, the Middle East. That's where it first all came. Egypt. And the chemistry of wine, which we may get into here in just a bit, and its resultant quality depend on achieving a balance between three aspects of the berries used to make the wine: the sugar content, acidity, and the presence of secondary compounds. So there, now you know. All right. So without any additional verbiage from yours truly, let's welcome Matt and Jennifer Fenner to the show and to talk about their wines and our local winery. Welcome you two to the Doc Jacques.
Welcome.
All right, thank you very much. Good to be here.
And the local winery is called High Note.
Yeah. Well, you
Winery.
start asking the questions.
Yeah.
I'll talk
All
to you.
right. So let's start with either one and both of you. Where are you born and raised?
Well, I was born. This is Matt. I was born in Ohio,
Good.
Really? I don't know.
and
Ohio.
I was only there for a little bit, and then we moved to Venezuela, South America.
Dang.
Yeah, Puerto La Cruz. My dad worked for Gulf Oil, and so I was not even 6 months old, I don't think, and we moved down there. but it was great living down there.
Do you speak Spanish fluently, I suppose? Or?
Gay?
Okay.
Okay, dude.
Oh, poquito. I just know a little bit, enough to keep me out of trouble down
you
in
by.
Tijuana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right
Oh,
on.
cool. So when did you come back here, up here?
We came back from Venezuela back in 1970,
Okay.
and
were
we
a-
moved
a
to
wee
New
lad.
Orleans City.
What?
Yeah, and that's where I really got into music. I was playing the clarinet.
Wait, New Orleans?
Yes.
She lived in Louisiana.
Big
for
Easy.
Louisiana.
7 years.
Yeah, the Crescent City.
Yeah, you were
actually,
from.
it's called.
Crescent City. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And you were in Sulphur. Is that right?
Landon Sulphur. I was in Lake Charles.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Close
that's a
by,
great
11 miles.
place. Yeah, that's a great place. But living in New Orleans, there was a lot of great music,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
for a clarinetist.
Yeah.
And my brother, he played the trumpet.
Oh,
Other brother played the saxophone, and another brother played the drums. So we had a little
you
band.
had the second procession all by yourself, right?
Yes.
What ain't
I like to call it the FBI was the name of our band. Fenner Brothers Incorporated. FBI.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
nice.
We only played gigs at church, but
Right, a
they were
Methodist
pretty
church, by
good.
the way?
No, it's a Lutheran church out
that's
there
close
in
enough.
Algiers, if you know New Orleans.
Yeah, well, so next time all your brothers are here, we'll have them here on the show for you guys to play some music.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll play some music. Hopefully, my little brother will be able to hit the cymbal.
All right. And Jennifer, you want to pull up your thing a little bit closer there. Tell us where you were born and raised.
I was born in Vicenza, Italy,
What? These are international.
but I only lived there for 8 days.
Oh, darn it.
So unfortunately, I wasn't able to return until May of 2023 when my sisters and mom and I took a long planned but COVID delayed
Oh, yeah.
mom-daughter trip back to Italy.
Cool. Yeah.
And it was fabulous.
And
So-
after Italy, where did you go?
I lived in Texas and Alabama, but mostly Texas.
No kidding. And then you,
You came up here somehow.
yeah, well,
Wayne.
you guys met.
Oh,
many years-
yes,
how many years
yes.
ago?
We met in Austin, Texas. We were both working at Bennigan's. If you're
Wait a minute.
familiar
How do I
with
know
that.
name.
It's because it was a chain restaurant, very popular in the 80s. And a
You
little
mean
bit of
with
the
knife
90s.
throwing and putting it?
No,
No,
not
that's
Benihana.
Benihana.
This ain't Benihana.
Yeah, that's Benihana.
Finnegan's.
Oops. Okay, never mind.
Bennigan's was sort of
Bennigan's.
like a TGI Friday
okay.
type of thing.
It was Irish based.
That was kind of the theme. Big St. Patty's
Right.
Day party.
Oh yeah, big.
That's
St.
where you met on
Patty's
St.
Day.
Patty's Day?
So,
No, not on St. Patty's Day.
but you met at that restaurant?
Yes.
did, yes. And,
Okay. And then what happened?
Oh.
Well, then we basically took our honeymoon before we got married.
Good. That's
I was planning at the time to travel to Asia with my brother because I'd heard that it was very exciting and very inexpensive to travel as a young person. I was 21 years old. And then my brother's band got picked up by a promoter in Texas and wanted them to do our Texas tour. And he said, Jenny, I'm sorry, I can't go with you.
Uh-oh.
I still wanted to make the trip. I didn't really feel quite safe having another female go along with me. So I kind of put it out there for one of my male friends to go along. I was dating Matt at the time, and he said, well, I'm a good friend, so I'll go. And so we just saved up the money, and we did. He did put the stipulation, though, that we needed to make a full circumnavigation of the globe and visit his brother who was living in Brighton, England at the time.
oh, cool.
So we did that. We went to Hong Kong, started off in Hong Kong, and then bought our tickets to other places in Asia, and then a ticket to London
And what year was
on our
this?
way back. This was 1986.
So it's
That's
still
right.
fairly reasonable to travel.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
you
it
could
was.
just buy the ticket at the counter, right, and go.
Yes, you could. And I mean, I still kind of marvel at our own boldness for buying a one-way ticket. We literally bought a one-way ticket to Hong Kong and just
We just barely made it.
backpacks on our backs. And
Hey, that saved many a marriage. I like that idea. We should tell Veronica that you should take your honeymoon first, then get married if you
and
still feel good.
Truly, that was one of the deciding factors. I said, I've been in all kinds of interesting situations with this person, traveled and been on unlimited resources, basically. And
well, if you can travel together, you can stay together, right? And
and I met his family, which is wonderful.
The next big thing is if you can move together, then you can stay together, I guess. Now, I came in 87 to the States, and I had a return ticket, which I just barely tossed, I think. I came in 87.
You tossed that memorabilia?
Yeah, it had and it was 580 marks.
I could have cashed it in.
Oh, yeah, I don't think so. It would,
On TWA.
What's that?
Well, but that's Trans World Airlines.
Oh, you mean, no,
KLM?
Lufthansa. Hello.
Lufthansa, German.
Yeah, it was Lufthansa.
You let that go to waste. Darn it.
Yeah.
So what brought you to this area, guys? Matt, you want to start over you? Whatever, Jennifer.
Well, actually, Jenny tells a pretty good story about it because she kind of spearheaded it.
Well,
do tell.
And there are tangents, but we'll probably get to those at some point. But during COVID, I traveled to this area with my children. One of them was living in Oakland at the time and one in Seattle at the time. And because travel was limited, we decided to meet. I flew into Oakland, spent some time there, and we met at Del Norte Coast Redwoods State Park and camped there. And the next day, visited the beach, South Beach, Crescent City, and then had a brew and a bite at Sequest and went over to the Smith River, Jedediah Smith Campground. And I just fell in love. I was just captivated by the redwoods.
The redwood.
And the Emerald
the
River.
ocean, right?
Emerald River and the ocean and the rocky beach. And I just knew I could visualize Matt and our dog Louie, who also unfortunately wasn't invited to this radio show. But perhaps
he speaks too much.
He always interrupts.
He goes a lot of places with you?
He does.
He didn't go to church with you?
No. He's agnostic.
And anyway, I could just visualize it so well that we could and would be happy here. And it really has been, so far, a dream come true.
Wow.
So when did you move up here?
February of 2024.
Wow. So you're
Pretty new.
very new.
Yeah, and we've been lucky that we've met such great people like you guys since being here.
Thank you.
Everybody's so friendly and accepting and
Friendly people,
helpful.
all right.
It's just
So when you moved up here, Matt, was that the first time you were invited to come up here, or?
kind of, sort of. Like we had been
Just
to like
trusted?
Santa Rosa and the redwoods around there. So when Jenny said that, hey, yeah, I think this would be a great place because it's got the redwoods, it's got a river, there's a golf course or two, and it would really be. It's got the climate is so fantastic. In the summer months.
Oh, yeah, except for the winter times, a little wet.
I was just going to say, so the climate is great in Santa Rosa or anywhere for the grapes.
It's warm.
But
It's hot.
nice for non-grapes like us to be here, right?
Yeah, especially nowadays like today.
Yeah, so
It's a beautiful day.
before you have started doing the grape business part, what did you do beforehand?
Well, I spent a lot of time working with the Navy.
Oh,
I was joined the Navy back in 1987, soon after Jenny and I got married.
yeah.
And then I got off active duty in 97. And I went into the reserves. And I stayed in the reserves all the way up for 29 years I got to be a Master Chief,
Wow.
which is pretty good for a person like me to achieve. If I could do it, anybody can. And so that was pretty fun. And then I also worked with General Dynamics as a contractor and Lockheed Martin.
Who is General Dynamics?
General Dynamics, they got a lot to do with the war effort.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
They make the bombs in Livermore, but no, they design the bombs in Livermore. They build them. They build them.
But me and Jenny got to spend 3 years in Japan right before we came here to Crescent City with
Wow, 3 years.
Lockheed Martin and the F-35 program.
So you were in the same business, sort of.
She was in the business of having fun, and I was in the business.
I was the travel agent
Yeah.
in Japan.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
You're still
she-
around in
I thought
Japan?
you said
You're still-
Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, I got to fund her fun.
Oh,
Yes.
well, it was all worth it. And so then you came back and you decided, hey, let's do something totally different. Let's have some winery.
Well, we were building up the winery before I got the opportunity to go to Japan. So while we were in Japan, our wine was aging in barrels. And then the pandemic hit, and that put everything off quite a bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when we wanted to be bottling from our barrels and having it do its bottling, aging,
It's aging. Right?
yeah, we were kind of stuck. Nobody
Yeah.
could go do anything. So
Right.
so it prolonged the aging in the barrel.
Well,
for
that's
our
good,
wines.
right?
Yeah, that's great.
Kind of got whiskey out of it.
And so the wine has a little bit more of a
Must-
oak flavor to it,
Yeah.
or hint.
You were gracious enough to bring in a bottle. What are we
Yes.
drinking?
We're drinking some Syrah.
Syrah.
Yeah, very
And this
good.
is,
We were, mine is gone.
Paso Robles, west side, west
Gathered-
coast.
Gathered grapes. They
Yeah, Syrah. That's where these
send
grapes
it up.
That's
from-
very good. It's a
All right, I got to ask. The name of your winery is High Note
Note.
Winery, and you got
Yes.
quite a history there. One of you tell us how did that arrive at that name, High Note Winery?
Well, we actually started making wine in our own garage in Spring Valley in the San Diego area,
Bill Gates.
California.
Yeah.
And we turned basically the place where our children used to live into an amateur winery. And from that, we presented our wines and shared our wines and had fun times with friends and family. And after we won a couple of awards at the San Diego County Fair, we decided it was time to scale up.
Yeah.
The children had moved out. We thought this would be a wonderful thing to continue into our retirement years. And
fill
so we enlisted the services of a custom crush facility. We went out and about and searched out grapes by going to vineyards and tasting the wine that was made from those, the grapes of those
Yeah.
vineyards, and finding something that we liked.
How cool is that? What a
Now,
cool.
how old is this business? How old is your High Note Winery?
Well, we started that winemaking in
The garage?
2009.
Okay.
About,
it wasn't
about 15
long.
years
Okay.
ago
Oh, wow.
ish. And we formed our LLC in 2017.
Oh, okay. So the LLC of the High Note
Yes, yes.
Winery.
You still have any of the first vintage?
Oh yes, we do. We have some. We have a few reserve bottles.
Well, what is the names of your children so we can shout out a hello?
Well, our oldest is Alvin Fenner. He lives in Portland, Oregon.
Alvin, hi.
Yes.
What's up? We met him.
And our youngest goes by Fenner as their chosen first name. Fenner Merlick as their last name,
Cool.
which is my maiden name. So
Right on.
Oh, wow.
Fenner. What a
Go
cool-
Fenner. Go Alvin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Right on. How? So you started in 2009.
Yes.
And you get your grapes from a variety of places. You got to travel around, found all these great,
Yes.
right? What a great
Yeah,
job.
it
That
was
would be
really
fun.
And met
great,
great
you
people
know.
too. Tell the story about
Yeah.
meeting Ron Soletto, Matt.
Yeah, so what we do is we go to wineclassifieds.com,
Okay.
and there people list grapes for sale all around California. If they have some grapes they want to sell, they might put it on.
The Craigslist of wine, of grapes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so I answered a ad there for some grapes for sale, and it turned out to be Ron, who was just like a really accepting, a loving person.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
died during the pandemic,
Oh,
Oh, boy.
which is kind of a drag because he was a big personality. But he took Jenny and I and Louie in like we were his family, showed us his Circle S vineyard where he grew many different varieties of grapes. But, you know, like I was talking earlier, we only wanted to focus on Merlots and Cabernet Sauvignon.
The big reds.
Big reds
Yeah.
that you could have with a steak or some pasta
Yeah.
or a cigar, something like that. So Ron just took us in like we were his children and got us our grapes, and then we took them and had them processed at a winery called LDT. I can't remember what it stands for.
Luso della Terra.
Okay, let's stop with LCT. LDT or LT?
LDT.
Okay, I got to stop right quick. We're already at that halfway point of the show.
All right.
You're tuned into KCIW 100.7 FM in Brookings, Oregon. We wish to continue to thank our major supporters of this community radio. And I want to take this moment to mention Advanced Airlines is now one of our major sponsors here, and they have been for the past 6 or 7 months. Really, thank you for them. They are flying out of nearby Crescent City and Oakland in L.A.
In L.A.
7 days a week. Also, Chetco Medical and Aesthetic Center, located right here in Brookings, Oregon, and where Dr. GiGi is now a practicing medical physician. There you go, Doc. And we shout out to Marie and Brett Curtis, our next door neighbors at Remax Coast and Country Realty. Dr. John Kirk's Porta Pints Craft Brewery, now with 2 locations in Crescent City. Michelle Bubert, hey, Michelle, and you're our own vibrant local Curry County Chamber of Commerce. A big hello to you and thanks. Jim Doc Bellardi, everybody. Doc Bellardi and his Crescent Land Title and Escrow Company in old downtown Crescent City. He has the bear in his window, a stuffed one. Dan and Phyllis Schmidt, thank you for your constant friendly support. Also, we wish to thank the reimagined Crescent Harbor Art Gallery in Crescent City, anchored right in the harbor, right next to the boats, and our region's only bowling center, Tsunami Lanes on 101 in Midtown, Crescent City. And finally, Dr. GiGi and yours truly, we wish to thank all of you so much. Thank you for your major support, and the contracts are coming up soon. So there will be an opportunity for soon bringing on some new major supporters, and you will be broadcast here every show and 3 times a day.
Keep going, Matt. We interrupted you
LTD.
rudely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we,
got the
LDT,
grapes.
which was another great
Partner.
partner to be with. And man, oh man, it was just like every time we were trying to do things, it was like we suddenly became part of someone else's family.
Oh, wow.
So we got to meet Ed's dad from, I think he was the financier of the organization. I'm not sure, but they treated us really well. And we had to go through the pandemic with them. And so
yeah.
they had to transition a little bit, and they moved their operations up to a little town called Fiddletown.
Fiddle? Oh,
Yeah.
I've heard of Fiddletown.
Fiddletown.
It actually works well with our wine brand.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
I
right?
didn't even get to explain because I went off track, which is
Yes.
common with me. But High Note.
High Note.
High Note Winery. So before we did that scaling up, we decided we really needed to come up with a great name besides Matt and Jenny's Wine. So
It's a good one.
Or how it started out, Matt's Horrible Wine.
we're not going to talk about that.
How it started out.
That's how we became experts. We made some.
Yeah, we made some.
You got to make some
figure it out.
mistakes to figure
So
it out.
tell us about the High Note.
So there was a blackout in San Diego, a very rare one, and we decided, well, gosh, we've never really dealt with this before. What are we going to do this evening? Let's light a candle, open a couple bottles of wine, and let's name our winery tonight. And we brainstormed and we wrote down and we voted amongst ourselves and talked with our family members. And we thought about what is meaningful in our family. What is a vein that runs through our hearts and lives? And it was music. And so
Right on.
if we had radio vision, you could see that our wine label is kind of modeled after a score of
A music score.
A musical
Yeah.
score. And, we
And you
decided-
are wearing the musical notes on your earring.
Yes.
Those are,
some of my
Very
favorites.
observant, Doc.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
yeah. And you
yes.
guys, you had four brothers who do
Yes.
music. And Jennifer, did you do music?
Yes. I played the violin from
Wow.
age, 12 to 18, and dabbled in it in some of my adult years. But each one of my siblings has played music in a band here and there. My brother Chris plays music in a band all his life, not as his main occupation, but Chris Murray.
So
Oh, man.
that all contributed to all of a sudden you're drinking the fourth bottle of wine and you're getting really high and you go notes.
That's right on.
Well, the high note, like, you're reaching for the high note.
Yeah.
Like the best of it.
And not only do you put the score of, there are different scores too.
There are different scores.
Different scores on these. And then you label or you name your wine with something
right.
musical.
Yes.
So in the studio, we have the serenade and the clarinet.
Yes, and so like our clarinet, it has clarinet music on it.
Oh.
So
those are
we were
usable
hoping,
notes.
we were hoping that people would see this wine and then buy it and take it home and drink it while they were discussing the music that was on the front of it. Trying to figure out what is this song, and so the clarinet. And if now you know a little bit more, where I'm from New Orleans, and I played the clarinet. So this song here on the label has a lot to do with New Orleans City
Dang, we take
and
that
the
part.
clarinet. So
very
when you
cool.
go to Wild Rivers Market and you see our wine there
Down
for
in
sale,
Crescent City, right?
That's right, down there in Crescent City.
The natural
Pick
food
up
store.
some clarinet, take it home, try to figure out that music, and see if it makes
Pick
you
up the
think.
clarinet. Let me find my clarinet somewhere.
I don't want to jump way ahead, but are you trying to find a local place now here in our region, our pocket corner of
Yes.
Northern Cal?
Me and Jenny, or I'll speak for myself, I guess. I'm a big believer in the Holy Spirit.
There we go.
And
Good.
they will let me know when I come upon the place that we should have our business. So we've been driving around a lot, working with people, a lot, different realtors, different ideas, and we're going to find a place.
Right on.
And
No,
it's
you
going to
don't
be
have
great.
To, you don't have to. You don't have to grow the grapes. You're going to get them from down south somewhere. You're
Yes.
going to do stuff with the grapes up here, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's
So, like
great.
here, real soon, what we'll do is at the end of the summer, we're going to go to Orland, California, and that's where we've
Mountain Valley,
established our winery, where we can really make some wine.
The production side.
Yeah, we've established it there on our cousin's ranch.
Right. That's all almonds and walnuts and
Yeah,
olives.
and their ranch is called the Twisted Knickers Ranch. So we
So you're
figured
gonna
that, yeah.
So you have some space there where you put the squash.
Yes, we've got our
grapes and-
equipment there, and we're going to have some barrels there.
Oh, nice.
And then, but the one thing about Orland, California, is it gets hot,
yeah.
well, that's
real
good.
hot.
real hot.
It's good for wine, right?
Well, no, not really. You don't
not
want to
mixing
be aging wine and when it's hot. So
Superheat, yeah.
we're gonna take it. We're gonna grab it, and we're gonna take it here to Crescent City,
yeah.
and then
Where
let
it's
it.
never hot. Really.
Yeah, it's always about 64 degrees or something.
Yes.
Yeah, which is
Before I
a
moved
great
in here-
temperature.
Before I moved in here, my son and I, we were looking at the temperature, and it's just basically every month, basically like the prior month, maybe 5 degrees warmer. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah,
throughout
never, which is good. I don't like hot weather. So, but
Me
Orland,
neither.
it smokes there, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's hot. Whoa.
Now, let's
Yeah.
go to your wines. What kind of different wines do you produce?
We do mostly focus on the Bordeaux's, the reds, big reds, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah. We've made Malbec. We've made Pinot Noir. We've made Chardonnay.
Oh, you have had a
So
Chardonnay.
we have
Okay.
made several different varietals over the years. And we have noticed when we speak with people that white wines are sometimes the preference, sometimes the only wines that people make. So that's going to be our next wine, our next generation, our next vintage will be a 2025 Chardonnay.
Wow. Cool.
But you
Good.
do buy your grapes down south. You go shopping,
Yes,
right?
yes. Central California, we'll be focusing on maybe Napa, maybe Sonoma.
So basically, every year you decide you don't.
Yes.
You are not stuck in one vineyard.
That's right.
Okay,
That's
so you
right.
go and
Rather than
shop.
limit ourselves.
Yeah.
But we enjoy the
Oh,
the relationship.
I'm jealous.
The
Totally
relations.
jealous. It's like, hey, I get to go out and just hang out at wineries all day.
Yeah.
Talking with
Well,
the vintners themselves.
If
we
you
don't
got
deal
to
with the
meet our
sales staff.
friend Chris Van Alia, then you would make wine yourself.
Really, he's super
Because oh man, he
mentoring.
He is he's a great mentor. his winery is down in Leucadia, which is just right outside of San Diego.
Yeah, that's why we don't know.
Solana Beach, Leucadia. But his parents have a vineyard near and around Dry Creek, Pine Mountain. What's the other name of the place? I think that's it.
Now, before
Russian River.
before I went to medical school as an old person, I
Older.
have land in Utah in the desert, and I actually had the soil investigated. And have water rights. I wanted to have a vineyard. I thought it would be
It's the
cool.
20 acres of land out in the middle of the desert now.
It is. It really is 20 acres of
Yeah.
nothingness. But
I'll give you $50 for it.
and then no. And anyway, I had the land. The earth. It was acidic. It was good for some grapes. I don't remember what it was. But then, I went to medical school and all went to pots. But I still have the land, and it's still
You're
desert.
growing pot on the land now? Did you say? It all went to
No, I
pot? Oh, I see.
You never know, though, because we spent some time in Texas. That's where I mostly grew up. And there are several Texas wineries. In fact, a lot of our family has tried to talk us into living in Texas again. We did live there for a year and a half right after Japan, but it was too hot for us.
Yeah.
But
Especially
there
San
are an amazing amount of vineyards in
Yeah.
Texas now,
Yeah.
Texas wineries, and it can be done. So don't rule out Utah. Just never know.
This is-
But we do prefer California.
Yeah.
But you know what they say about Texas?
what do they say about that?
They say that the best place to be in Texas is right in the middle. Because if you're right in the middle of Texas, no matter which direction you start going, you're leaving.
Now, come on. I'm sorry.
I gotta remember that was my joke.
See,
You
that's
stole
just
from
a
me.
joke. I love
It's
Texas.
a good place in my heart.
I love people in
Okay,
Texas.
Texas is cool. When I drive across country, I usually drive a big swath around Texas, but that's okay. That's just my personal thing. Does Klamath come in here for a reason? I mean, I heard you mention Klamath. Do you have any location in Klamath? Or?
We actually have our wine is at the Willow Line Tap Room in Klamath.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
One of the bars and restaurants that do have our
No,
wine.
I'm talking about the Klamath River, the Klamath Inland. The inland from Klamath? Or
Plymouth Falls?
Klamath Falls?
Just not too far from the Klamath River off the 101.
Right south
Yeah.
of us here. Yeah.
Klamath,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And another great example
With a
of
wine.
how people are willing to give you a chance. It's like
Yes.
we went in there and we said, hey, we're selling some wine. Are you interested? And they tasted a little. I don't know if they even tasted. No, they did. We had met them at a Chamber of Commerce mixer
Yeah. Those are
and
great.
given them some of our wine. So just like us, they are getting established and
Willow
having
Glen.
yeah.
Willow Line.
Oh man, it's a great
Willow Line
place.
Tap Room.
Okay. Really good.
Now, do you have yourself some taste, like wine tasteries or anything like that? Do you have a venue where you do that?
Yeah, they do come to the chamber mixers quite often.
Besides the
Yeah, they're serving up the wine. That's what we met you, right? We met you there, right?
That's what we've got going for us now. Until we find a good storefront or a place to have our winery here or there in Crescent City, then that's what we're kind of limited to.
You can't rule out Brookings. You never know.
Well,
Yeah, you never know.
We have poured and will pour again at the Lighthouse Repertory Theater Jazz Supper Club events. They
Yeah.
plan to have an event maybe once a quarter. So we did the first one this year, and it was fantastic and a lot of fun. The food was beautiful, so we were happy
Oh yeah.
to have our wine accompany that food. Mm-hmm. So next
And
Supper
we
Club.
love music, and everybody seems to be very friendly and accepting in Crescent City, and so we're really pushing to supporting the arts.
Right
Like
on.
we would rather, like I've always strived for starting a place like CBGB's in Crescent City, and we'll see how that goes. But we just sponsored some music.
Yeah, for the Wild Rivers Symphony.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, what was it called?
It was called The Wrong Trousers.
Hey.
Wallace and Gromit's.
Yeah.
Right on. What is the alcohol content of most wines?
13.5%.
I'm
That's
looking
kind
at
of the
Serenade
standard.
right now. Serenade is
Now,
13.5%.
what makes your wines different from other
Yeah.
wines?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it's just the whole experience of it being made, the low level of sulfites.
Oh, yeah.
That-
It gives you
we
the
try-
headache, right?
Yeah.
What are sulfides?
Yeah.
A lot of
Sulfites or
people will say, hey, yeah, when I drink your wine, I don't get that headache. And I was like, well, you probably only drank a bottle instead of 3. But yeah, usually the sulfites are what cause people to get headaches.
Right.
So the way to get around that is just let the wine breathe.
Okay.
But we don't.
Really? It kind of evaporates?
Yeah, the sulfites will
No,
evaporate.
aren't they
I
added
didn't know that.
to keep it longer? No.
Yes, so it's a preservative.
Yeah.
So you put sulfites into your wine, and what it does is when it dissipates,
Yeah.
like the element that you were talking about earlier, what was it called?
Yeah. Sulfur.
Acetane or
Acetane or whatever.
Acetylene, yeah.
Yeah.
Acetylene.
Yeah, so it dissipates. And when it dissipates, it turns into carbon dioxide.
Oh.
And so it is heavier than oxygen. And so it dissipates the oxygen.
Oh, I see.
And
breaks down.
bacteria and
Decays.
all the stuff that wants to mess up your wine, it needs oxygen. So when you put your sulfites in there, it creates a bunch of carbon dioxide. It dissipates the oxygen and thus pretty much suffocates anything that is bad. But when it's gone, then the oxygen will get back onto your wine. And that's where you'll
let it
hear
breathe
about...
in.
Yeah, that's when you'll hear about, this wine has been oxygenated or something like that. What is the term for it?
Yeah,
Oxygenated? Yeah,
Yeah, oxygenated.
So
and
that's what you do with
Oh.
yours?
No, we put a little sulfite in there, and then it's in the bottle. We also filled the bottles with the argon
Oh,
before. So
that's
in-
another noble gas.
Yeah,
No, yes, I like that.
it's on your
No.
periodic table.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Very
So
right.
when we bottle our wine, we put argon gas into the bottle.
Oh, cool.
We put a little sulfite into our wine, and then you fill the bottle. It displaces the argon, but there's still some argon in the top of the bottle. Then you cork it,
Because it's a heavy.
and
heavy.
it displaces the oxygen.
Yeah.
So it is kind of an exact science making wine, right?
Sometimes
Parts of it.
It
Yeah,
is,
some of it.
yes. And then the cleanliness is very important.
Yeah.
And you can imagine in the Navy how clean you have to be when you're on the ships.
Scrub that.
You gotta scrub the deck. You gotta, do all that stuff. We don't want to talk about it too much, but you need to clean it. It's got to be clean
Yeah.
because you don't want any. And just like with the beer, making beer,
Right.
it needs to be clean. You don't want any funky stuff going down in the city.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, very cool. Now, how did you learn all that? I mean, it's one thing to
From these
just say-
mentors. A lot of
From my mentors, and then from reading, and just a lot of the things you work with making wine are stainless steel or a food grade plastic and glass, and so you can really see how clean stuff is.
Yeah.
So when you get your grapes, they're got dust on them and things like
Right.
that, and
And
you don't want to
fungi,
wash them
fungus,
off.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe a little fungus among us. And
you don't want to wash them down.
you don't want to wash them
Really?
down. You press them and
Why don't you
destem
wash
them.
them down?
Well, he's telling you just press them.
Yeah. So if you washed them down, then you would add a lot of water
Oh, I see.
to it.
Okay.
You would
Yeah.
drop
Then
some
it'd be
water.
3% alcohol, and I want to drink it then.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Do you add sugar to your?
no,
You don't.
no,
Natural
because
sugar.
when we pick,
Oh, I know. Usually they do. I mean, many do.
when we pick the grapes, the sugar content will be at what they call like about 26 bricks.
Okay.
And
Call it Huxley. Yeah.
it's a bricks is a measurement of sugar in a liquid. And so it's about 26. So then when you add yeast gets in there and it loves the sugar.
Yeah.
It takes the sugar and it processes it into alcohol. And it's about a 50% transition rate, if you want to call
What's
it
the
that.
total time length?
Just about 10 days.
Whoa.
And
Yeah.
then it's just storing it and letting it ferment. And
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes you might want to add some malolactic fermentation to the process.
Which is just I mean, it's a.
is that another element?
It's another
Malolactic?
bacteria,
No, it's a-
actually.
Yeah, it's another. Yeah, so what it does is it takes the mallow acid in your wine
Yeah.
and it transitions it
Oh.
to lactic acid, which is a lot smoother on your tongue.
Oh, I thought you said
Just like milk.
Really? That's
Yeah,
that's milk
lactic
acid. Yeah.
milk.
Matt lactic? No.
No, lactic acid.
Malolactic. Malolactic.
Where do you are you always looking for stores and businesses to carry your
yes,
wines? I
yeah,
suppose,
we
right?
stop in and talk to people about selling our wine, putting our wine on their shelves because, you know, it's a beautiful bottle. If you could see it.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful
very
bottle.
beautiful.
Yeah. High Note Winery.
And it's a great wine. And I think that people will benefit from figuring out the music part of it.
Okay, talk a little bit quickly. We got about 5 minutes, but let's talk a little bit about bottles, corks, and labels. The corks. I haven't seen many of your corks yet. Are they real cork? Or is it
Real
the-
cork, yes.
They're
Doesn't matter. I guess it's
a composite of
Okay.
cork. So it's like some cork, mostly cork, but it's got other things that I'm not quite sure
well,
what it is.
I'm
but-
looking at it now. I would say that is an absolute real cork, but you're saying
Yeah.
that's a composite. What a trip! It's
Well,
got the
because
Swiss
there's only
cheese
so
fold.
many cork, so much
Trees,
cork
right?
in
It comes
the world.
from the right. It's from
So a lot
Portuguese
of times now,
trees.
but what do you think, Jenny? What do you got going on over there?
Well, I think it's 100% cork.
Oh, it is.
It looks 100% cork.
She
It
bought the
does
cork.
look-
She would
I
know.
did, I
Okay,
did.
all right.
And
It
there
looks
are
like
online
cork.
sources. It's not
Tastes like
really
cork.
anything
I'm biting it
interesting
like cork.
about
And we
the
get our
cork.
bottles from West Coast Bottles.
Okay, so a big manufacturer of bottles.
Yep, I think they're actually from China.
Oh,
But, you know,
Uh-oh,
they're
they're
a
gonna be
good
more
bottle. They're a
expensive.
good
prices
bottle.
just went up.
Yeah.
This tariff.
I know, yeah, with the
but he lowered the
tariffs
tariffs
kicking
again now. I think.
Yeah,
Sure, what's the
so-
latest now? I don't know.
And then the labels, great story. I think I might ask Jenny to tell it because it involves her great brother, Chris.
Well, he is the former owner of Label Solutions.
Whoa.
Which is
Oh, how lucky is that?
How nice is
Yes,
that?
it is. It is. So
That's why they're such nice.
he generously offered to help us out by producing labels. And so he has free wine for life.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
Now, who designed him though? He did.
Oh,
Your
I
brother.
designed-
Oh, Jenny did
I
it.
You
designed the
designed him.
label.
You designed
Yes,
it, okay.
Yes, I have a history in graphic arts. And,
Oh, geez.
Yeah, Jenny used to do comic books.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Arts and graphic
Kinda-
production.
I've seen that a little bit of your artwork now. I kind of get it. I see a little bit.
Very
of your,
talented and
Yeah,
beautiful.
I like cartoon artwork. I think that's.
Well, I
kinda-
was in the production part of the cartooning, but I'm very familiar with it.
Are
Yeah.
you always evolving? Are you always getting better at your profession? Both of you.
We hope so, like wine.
Yeah.
Or aging. Wine is aging.
I
Yeah.
tried
Good
some.
for all of
I
us.
tried some. What did I try? Some hooch or something, and
Hooch?
like it's vinegar.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you put
Oh.
no apple juice, and then you put some yeast in there.
Oh, yeah.
And I was very pleased. I thought it was really cool. So he drank one by mistake
Oh.
because the bottle where I put it in was still labeled with apple juice. I don't know what it was. So he drank it and he
tricked me.
Poor
spit
Jacques.
it out right away. He's like,
I was
"Oh
not
my
expecting
gosh."
that vinegary.
What is this hooch? He probably said.
So,
Yeah, what
no,
is
he
this
said,
damn-
"What is this? This is awful." And so that was our last time we had like
man.
33 bottles.
Okay,
So
what's your
it takes a lot of finesse and knowledge to make
yeah.
something this beautiful.
any future plans? Any future shows? Any
Oh, yeah. Well, we got some big plans.
Well,
big,
tell us.
Big plans coming up.
going to Orland?
First of all, we're going to get licensed to sell in Oregon. Right now,
Oh,
we're all
right.
set for California, but we're right next to Oregon.
Is there a lot of
Yeah.
red tape to deal with? Is there a lot of government?
Yeah, there's a lot of bureaucracy.
Yeah, you're dealing with booze, right? You're dealing with
It
alcohol.
takes persistence, so, but
of forms.
Matt's our red tape guy, and he's
Oh, yeah.
great.
Well, good. Keep at
So-
it.
But we plan on finding a place in Crescent City to have some fun
Right
in
on.
regards to
Okay,
selling wine, showing some art, doing some music, all that
Right
good
on.
stuff. And then
wow.
towards the end of the summer, we're going to go back to Orland, get some white grapes,
All right.
white wine grapes, some Chardonnay, and we're going to make some Chardonnay. And then we're going to go and try to find some red wine. We'll find the red wine grapes and then bring them back to our winery there at Twisted Knicker Ranch and then make our red wine. And while that is going through the process, we'll bottle our white wine.
Oh, my.
And then we'll try to sell as much of it as we can to our neighbor Cindy.
Got a real good
Yeah,
Cindy.
she loves white wine.
There we go.
Oh.
And then we're just going to probably for the rainy season cruise down back to San Diego
Yeah.
and hang out there while it's raining in Crescent City.
How do people get a hold of you?
You're
And
on Facebook,
talk
right?
about, you're on
We are on
Facebook?
Facebook and Instagram, High Note Winery.
High Note
Not to be confused with High Note. So just a little tidbit here. There is a High Note Winery estate, and there's a just High Note wine that's based out of South America. But just be persistent in High Note Winery. Google, once you just search High Note estate,
the winery.
but just go
Winery.
highnotewinery.com.
All right.
Yes.
And
Okay, so you have your website.
Yeah.
we do have our website, and again, Facebook and Instagram, just High Note Winery.
Jennifer and Matt
Matt
Fenner have been in
Fenner.
the how interesting of a field you are involved in, and a wonderful thing that you're doing. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, it
bringing
was
in
very fun. Thank
lots
you.
of
Yeah,
information.
thanks for having us.
eye-opening.
That's
Thank
what we're
you
in
so
it
much.
for. We want to have as much fun as we can.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
All right.
Right here. Thank you so much for
Speaking
joining
of
us.
fun, we only have a few minutes left, Doc,
Right.
but what does that mean? Fun time corner. Yeah. Ooh. Okay, give us a couple quotes, Doc. We
Okay.
only got a couple minutes.
All right. Periodic table quote.
Okay.
Think like a proton and stay positive.
Yeah, that's a great.
Okay, here's,
like it. I'll
hit
jump
us
to
with
that.
another one as I'm looking at my notes real quick.
What the ocean was to a child, the periodic table is to a chemist. And dang it, we didn't get to tell the story about your children, but they learned
They
the
know
We
it.
mentioned their
periodic
name.
Yeah.
They know that
table.
story.
Okay, a man arrives at a costume party with a girl on his back. He says, "I'm a turtle." Well, who's on your back? Oh, that's Michelle. Okay.
Great joke, Jacques.
Did you know, Doc, that I can communicate with vegetables? Jacques and the Beanstalk.
I still don't. Oh,
Jacques and the Beanstalk.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah. I recently heard that jokes about vegetables are very rare, but I don't think that's necessarily true. Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, steaks are rare. Steaks are rare.
All right, Doc, give us some more.
Either give me more wine or leave me alone.
Oh, that's
Oh,
a
wait,
great.
you
That's by
already said
someone
that.
famous,
That's
right?
a quote. That's a quote.
That's a
right?
quote. I
Yeah.
do the
Mark
quote.
Twain.
No, that's by Rumi.
Rumi.
Of all things, leave me alone. Okay.
Is Rumi a fictitious character?
No,
No,
Rumi is
he
a famous
reads.
Persian
tell you about
philosopher or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Persian.
Hey, recently a woman fainted at the airport and fell into the baggage carousel, but she's slowly coming around now.
That's hilarious.
Did you hear that Keith Richard owns over 3,000 guitars? That's because he buys one every year.
Oh, that's not like it.
yeah.
Okay, guess what?
What?
We're
Is it-
done.
oh, we're done.
You have
Darn it.
been
Oh,
listening
Man.
to the Doc and Jacques radio variety show on KCIW 100.7 FM in Brookings, Oregon. I hope you have enjoyed this interesting, fun fact history about High Note Winery. We hope you have enjoyed it as much
Thanks
as
so
we
much,
have, obviously.
Matt and Jennifer, for coming in.
Pleasure. Please ask for High Note Winery at any restaurant or bar that you go to.
And they'll get the word. Okay, thanks to Ray Simon and Tom Bozak in their engineering room. Stay tuned for
Tom.
Tomfoolery.
Tony Durso
Durso.
on KCIW. Peace and love, everybody.
All right.